What's up, guys? ArtistVersion1 here, and welcome back to another edition of Stories No One Asked for, the podcast. And if you are a new listener, and judging from the listens I get on Apple and Spotify, you probably are a new listener. If you don't know by now, I once wrote a book, and it was called Stories No One Asked For, and it was filled with numerous spelling errors and missing words to the point that I released a second edition. And I tried multiple times, twice in fact, to write follow-up books to that, but they never came to fruition. So hence why I'm doing this podcast here, where I would take said stories that would possibly be in another book and just tell them, verbally tell them here. So that's what this podcast is all about here. And tonight, we have one that I've mentioned before, and I've talked about it on YouTube, I think, a long time ago. In fact, I don't even know if that video is still available, but, if it's not, then hey, here we go. We're going to talk about how I was at, Nipplegate Super Bowl. The infamous Janet Jackson titty thing there. And I don't mean like, oh, I was in the stands or anything like that. I was on the field when it happened. So we'll get into that. But before we get into that, I want to give a quick shout out to the great people over at MoviesAreUSA.biz who proudly sponsor Stories No One Asked For, the podcast. And if you head on over to MoviesAreUSA.biz, you can find those hard to find TV shows and movies. And I mean, read the news lately. Target, Best Buy, they're getting rid of DVDs and Blu-rays and 4Ks, whatever your favorite, medium is there. They're getting rid of them, which is sad. I mean, hopefully they make a comeback. I mean, hey, vinyl made a comeback. But my point is, you can head on over to MoviesAreUSA.biz and you can get those hard-to-find movies or movies that you just love on Blu-ray, DVD by special request for movies only, unfortunately not TV shows. And not only can you get them there, but you can use my checkout code, that being ARTIST, ARTIST at checkout, and you can save yourself 50. That's right, 55-0. You can save yourself 50% on your entire purchase. And if that wasn't a big enough deal for you, you can also get free first class shipping on top of all that. And my man over there, he ships quick, let me tell you. He's not only a sponsor, I'm a customer. I buy stuff from there every now and then. I recently bought Alf, the complete series on Blu-ray, which is the only way to get it on Blu-ray. It is the video on a Blu-ray disc, but hey, it's better than nothing. Plus the Netflix series Exo Kitty Season 1. The Last of Us, the HBO Max in HBO series. Hey, they have a lot of great titles. Over 3,500 titles for you to choose from. And if you don't see something you like, email them. There's an email. There's a contact there. Email them. They'll be more than happy to find whatever it is that you're looking for and put that on there for a great reasonable price. And you can still use my checkout code and get 50% off of it and free shipping. And first class international shipping as well. So head on over to MoviesAreUSA.biz today. Use that checkout code ARTIST and get you some good stuff. All right, so let's get into it here. So it was 2004, was it? No, 2005. Yeah, somewhere in there. So back in high school, I was a real, I was really in the drama, the drama class. North Carolina, I did Grease, which that's a story for another day. I literally have been in a drama class, I think, since I was in, or I've been associated with drama since I was in like sixth grade. Sixth grade, I was in Durham, North Carolina. I did drama there. My first school in North Carolina didn't really have a drama class, but I did do a play. In I think 8th grade. I think 7th grade was like the only grade that I didn't really do anything associated with like drama, with acting and such like that. And then my my freshman and sophomore year in North Carolina, I did drama there, did Grease for my sophomore year, and then finally when I moved to North Carolina, moved to Texas, that is, they put me in a advanced drama class because of my grades and such in North Carolina. But that, again, that's a different story for another day, but that class pretty much killed my love of drama and everything. But there was some good that came out of it. There was a day we were practicing something. I can't remember if it was Peter Pan for the elementary school, or was it that stupid fucking play that really just put the nail in the coffin for my like love of acting at the time. Um, I can't remember which one it was, but I remember we were all finishing up for the day, and we were all kind of huddled around our teacher. Um, and our teacher was just like, "Okay, we're gonna be doing this, 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 and this tomorrow." Da da da. Okay, see you then. He's walking away, and he turns around with kind of like a, "Oh, by the way." Like a fucking Columbo. He pulled a fucking Columbo on us. And was just, "Oh, one more thing. And he says, "Oh, by the way, would any of you guys be interested in performing in the Super Bowl?" And all of our, we collectively, just all of our jaws hit the floor. Like, why would that be like a by the way? Shouldn't you have started class with that fucking question? And we're like, yeah. Like, how and why? So apparently, MTV, who was producing the Super Bowl that year, and I don't know, whoever else was producing it, they were going to like the high schools and asking like the drama and choir classes if they wanted to be on the field and be extras for that Super Bowl. That Super Bowl that was going to be headlined by Janet Jackson, Justin Timberlake, Nelly, Kid Rock, P. Diddy, Jessica Simpson, who did the introduction for the Super Bowl and such like that. So we're all like, yeah. Like, what, like, I'm still over, like, it's been like years since then. And I'm still tripping on the fact that it's just like, you said that in like a by the way type of way. Like, I would have started class with that. Like, okay, class, sit down, man. You're gonna fucking keep your socks on, you know. Mm. So we all agree to that, and this tells you what a little bitch I am, because we all agreed to it, and we have to do rehearsals for it. Like, this is big. This is fucking Super Bowl, man. So we have to do rehearsals for it. So they're like, okay, on a Saturday, you got to come to the school at this time and get on the bus. We'll take you to the rehearsal place and such like that. This fucking bus driver we had, it's fucking Saturday, dude. And like, I mean, I can probably see where people were like, Will's a little bitch in this, but like, I can also see the other side of the coin where like, like, fucking dude, it's Saturday. Okay? So the bus shows up and we're about to load on and shit like that. And like, the bus driver's like, all right, ladies first. There was seriously like 6 guys, between, because it was the drama class and the choir class. So between us, there was like 6 dudes, So somehow, I don't know how, but like somehow I accidentally ended up in the front of the line and shit like that. So I was just like, fucking, I'm already here. So like I step onto the bus and they're just like, whoa, I said ladies first. And like, just, I was just like, yeah, but I'm already here. I try to walk on the bus. They're like, no, get off the bus. I was like, who the fuck am I? Am I Rosa Parks now? Like, what the fuck? So I got off the bus and, like, we had, like, a parking lot. And I had, like, my bag with me because I had, like, my diabetes kit in it at the time. And my CD player, which, my Walkman CD player. I know, check and fucking date that one. And, like, I whipped this bag across the parking lot and shit. I was like, fuck it. I'm going home. See you later. And I started walking towards the bus stop because the bus stop was, like, right there by the school. And people were like, no, because one of the caveats to this thing is that like everybody in the party that signed up had to be at rehearsal. If you did not show up, you were not going to be allowed in the Super Bowl. So they're like, no, Will, you can't leave. I was like, no, fuck y'all. See you later. I'm out of here. So like I'm walking away and shit. I'm like fucking calling for a ride and shit because I was like, fuck it, I'm going home. Like, I don't care. I'm heading towards the bus or I'm calling for a ride, whatever. Because, like, fuck, it's stupid, man. Like, yeah, I can see where, like, people would be like, well, you kind of took that a little seriously. But still, on the other hand, like, would you really just fucking make somebody get off the bus on a fucking Saturday? Just, like, fuck, come on, man. I was hot about that. So, I was like, you know what? Fine, fuck it. After, like, 15 minutes of, like, holding up the bus, I finally just said, fine, fuck it. And I got on the bus. I went to the back. I pulled a I pulled the fucking, what's that town in Georgia? I don't know, whatever. I went to the back of the bus. You see the joke I was going for there. So I go to the back of the bus and I put on my headphones and I'm listening to the album "The Lonely Position of Neutral" by Trust Company. Uh, and like I'm just not being bothered by anybody. I'm furious. I don't even want to be there anymore. Because like of that whole stupid incident. So they take us to this field that's like shit. I have no fucking idea where this. If you asked me today where this field was, if you put me in the middle of Houston and said, "Here, find this field," good luck. I couldn't tell you. I could probably find you a couple places in Houston, but like this field, I couldn't find it again if I tried. But it was like a huge field, and they had like tape. It was like some high school football field. You know, I don't know whose high school. But they had it set up to where like they had like tape and everything, like stakes in the ground and tape, and it was like in the shape of what the stage would eventually become. So all the other schools are showing up, and we're kind of like all clicking together and shit like that, you know. Um, so now they figured they'd have a little fun. They'd announce each school and let us run onto the field and shit like that, which I gotta admit felt like a pretty little boss moment there. They're just like, next up, Booker T. Washington High School. And then they run out to the field and shit and get all fucking jazzed and pumped and shit like that. And they're like, next up, Eisenhower High School. That was my school. So I'd fucking we all ran onto the field. We were fucking hyped, man. We get in, they show you where you're going to stand and shit like that. So they did that for all the schools. I think it was like 10 schools or something like that. I don't know. I can't remember how many schools. So they show us where we're all going to stand when we like actually do the Super Bowl. Now, Janet, Nelly, all them, they weren't there at this time. Now, meanwhile, it's Houston, Texas. And yeah, while it's Super Bowl time, it's like fucking, 900 asshole degrees out here. So we're like roasting in the fucking sun too. So they get all the schools in place. Like, okay, remember where you're going to be standing, because this is where you're going to be when we do the actual show, such like that. Because at the time we didn't know there was going to be a second rehearsal. We didn't know that. So, and she was the lead girl was basically like, okay, so basically Janet Jackson's going to be standing here, and y'all's part is going to be like, she's going to say, we are a part of a rhythm nation, and y'all are going to sing that back. So let's try it. We are a part, and we fucking did it. And then that completed the fucking rehearsal. Like, no shit. They got us on a bus on a Saturday to go all the way out there in the middle of the fucking heat to do this. And no shit, we sat out in that fucking field doing nothing, absolutely jack shit nothing, for another hour and a half, maybe two. To the point where, like, they literally just brought out a microphone and started having us do, like, the prelude to America's Got Talent. Because I think this is before America's Got Talent was on. Because, like, they're like, all right, who has a special talent they want to show off? And, like, I mean, like, they weren't feeding us. Like, they brought out, like, one of those, like, Sam's Club sized box of crackers. Didn't even distribute it amongst us. They literally, like, came out and said, who wants crackers? And, like, one kid grabbed the crackers and basically just fucking kept it to himself. So I was just like, wow, they really had this thought out, We're sitting there fucking dying in the heat, and these are like people who have lived in Houston their whole life. These are people who are used to this fucking heat, So like this is fucking hell. So finally, they get us on the fucking bus. They're like, we're done. We did like the we are the part of the Rhythm Nation thing like twice, and then that was it. I was like, wow, this was a waste of a fucking day. Like fuck, you could have emailed this. You could have emailed the diagram of this. So we're on the bus, and like we're still feeling the heat and shit like that because we haven't had anything to drink, we haven't had anything to eat, So we're like cruising on the bus, and I'm sitting on the right side of the bus, and all of a sudden we see like some kids and adults that are like on the road and selling something. I don't know what the hell they're selling. I think it was bottles of water. Now that I think about it, but like half of us just lean out that fucking. Any of us who could lean out a window. We're just like, please, can you give us a bottle of water, please? Like, I don't think they were selling bottles of water because they wouldn't have given it to us for free. I can't remember what it was they were selling, but I know they were selling something, and they also had water. And we were just like all hanging out the window, like, please give us water, please, please. So they handed us as many bottles of water as possible before the light turned green. So we had like fucking like literally like 7 bottles of water. We were like kind of sharing between each other. You know, and I took like one sip of one and I'd pass it off. And like I was like, I'm good. You know, everybody else is good to go. That was fucking whew, man. That was rough. But it's about to get even rougher, man, because the second rehearsal, if that wasn't bad enough, here's the second rehearsal, okay? Now, despite popular belief, it does get a little cold in Houston sometimes, and this is going to be one of those days. Because, like I said, in the first rehearsal, it's like oh, God, it was like 90 fucking degrees, man. And, like, in Texas, 90 degrees is the equivalent to, like, I don't know, 400. So for the second rehearsal, everything goes smoothly so far. But this time, they're like, all right, we're going to take y'all to the stadium, which was Reliant Stadium. We're going to take y'all to the stadium to do this. And we're like, right on. So we get on the bus. We go. No, here was the funny thing about that. We got on the bus to go to the same field that we practice in to then get on another bus that took us to the fucking Reliant Stadium, which I just, to this day, I never understood. I don't know. Fuck, you might as well blindfolded us at that point. Anyway, so we get there, and again, in the parking lot of the stadium, they have like the tape set up. I'm just like, okay, whatever. So again, they're like, okay, this is where you're going to be standing. This is where we are a part of Rhythm Nation. Got it, you know, whatever. So now it starts pouring down, fucking raining. Pouring down raining. And on top of that, it's like 32 degrees today. You know? So like now they're handing out ponchos as quick as fucking possible. They're handing out ponchos. And like they're the ponchos that have like a hood and shit. Well, I had a poncho where the hood didn't work. So like I'm just getting soaked on my head. You know, my body's, you know, covered, but like my head's just getting soaked. And plus it's 32 degrees. Everybody's just like, Will, you got to cover your head. And I was just like, the fucking thing's broke. Like, I can't cover my head. They're like, it's like 30 degrees out here. I was like, you don't think I fucking know that? They're like, oh, man, you're going to get sick, man. You're going to get sick. I was like, oh, well, fuck. So, again, so now they're just like, okay, we're going to see if they'll let us come inside and run a rehearsal, you know, with like the actual stage. And we're like, thank God, because it's cold out here. It's fucking raining. Like, what else can we do here? So again, we did like we are the part of the Rhythm Nation thing like one time, and that concluded the fucking, you know, rehearsal. I was just like, again, this could have been a fucking email, you know. So we're outside, pouring down rain, ponchos and everything. Here was something, you know, that was kind of fun. I was hanging out with this girl from the choir class with us named Yaya. Her actual name was Jahida, but because either A, people couldn't say it, or B, like if you looked at the spelling of this, you would never get Jahida from it. So we called her Yaya. So me and Yaya heard a commotion. And we're like, hark, what does that sound? So we go over, and our school had a step team, as most fucking schools did in Houston, because, you know, fucking whatever. Our step team, man, it's like raining and shit. Our step team is like going off right now. You know, they're doing like the step thing and fucking the rain and shit's like hitting and shit. So when they stomped, the fucking water splashing up. It was Step Up to the Streets before that fucking movie came out. You know, it was pretty dope and shit. So then another school step team came out and started doing their thing and shit. Fucking rain and shit like that. It was really fucking cool to watch. You know? Then this guy, fucking say it with me now, I'll never forget this. This guy, he comes out and he clears out everybody like he's going to do something really fresh, right? And he's just like, okay, here we go. And he starts doing this bunny hop. And we're just like, what the fuck, man? So, like, our school just starts stepping again. The fucking rain splashing, doing their moves and shit like that. And the other school had no retaliation for it. Finally, Yaya is standing next to me. This is right before the movie came out, what she's about to say. So, like, it hit so hard. But, like, after our school stepped again, she, like, said out loud for everybody, you just got served. And, like, everybody fucking lost it. You know, it was a great little moment there. Um, so then they decided this time they're gonna fucking feed us. Like, holy shit, get the fuck out of here! But this time I was prepared. You know, like the last time I just brought like my diabetes kit and like I didn't have anything to drink or anything. This time I was fucking prepared. I had like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in my bag and shit. And I think I had a couple drinks. Yeah, I did have a couple drinks. Yeah, because I remember one of the girls needed my can to spit into. I remember that because apparently she had to spit for something. I don't know why. So I was prepared this time, but this time they're like, "Hey, we're gonna give you guys lunch." We're like, "Fucking hey, cool." Everybody line up. So we lined up, and they give us like this styrofoam container, no drink. At least to my knowledge, I don't think they gave us a drink. I had my own drink, so it could have been either I didn't get a drink because I had my own, or they didn't provide us one. But they give us a styrofoam container, and on the inside was like this bag of fucking chips and like this turkey sandwich with like a glob of barbecue sauce on it. Like this, like one of the saddest fucking sandwiches. If I would have took if Instagram or Twitter was it there or X was a thing back then, and I fucking posted this sandwich on there, oh fuck, it would have been Fire Festival before Fire Festival, because like that's how fucking sad and pathetic. Like this is what MTV is fucking serving us. Like really, you know? I mean, I get it. We weren't Janet, we weren't, Nelly or anything. But like, goddamn, they gave us a bag of chips and a fucking turkey sandwich with a glob of barbecue sauce on it. Like, fuck, can you try a little harder here? Like, shit, man. But to be fair, we all fucking ate it, and we didn't say a fucking word. So now we're standing outside. We've done 8. It's stopped raining a little bit. It's fucking freezing ass cold still. And we're just waiting to hear like, hey, can we come in? Where it'd be like at least a little bit warm. We're just waiting to hear word on that. And we didn't hear word on that. Let's see, it was 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. We didn't hear word on that. Oh, it wasn't too much longer. It had to be about, I don't know, 9:30 at night is when they finally said, sure, come on in. And we're like, what the fuck, man? So they finally get us in. And instead of putting us down on the field this night, did they put us on the field that night? I can't remember. I don't think they did. If they put us on the field, I don't remember. I don't think they did. And here's one, so they put us in the stands. I know they put us in the stands. They put us in a section where we'd be basically watching the stage, where we'd be watching the Super Bowl show, if it were happening live. So then all of a sudden we hear fucking, oh my God, at the body, look at that body, shaking that, we hear Janet Jackson. So there's fucking Janet Jackson on stage. And we're like, what the fuck? They're doing a dress rehearsal, live in front of us and shit. And we're like, holy fuck. Like, that's fucking dope. So, like, then we see Nelly come out with P. Diddy, and then we see Kid Rock, and fucking whoever else is there, Justin Timberlake. Here's why, to this day, I think Nipplegate was planned. Because Justin Timberlake, Nelly, P. Diddy, Kid Rock, they were all wearing, on this dress rehearsal, what they wore at the Super Bowl. The only one who wasn't was Janet Jackson. She was wearing, like, jeans and, like, this, like, not feathery, but, like, she was wearing, like, a sweater, So, that's why I think to this day it was planned. Because she was not wearing the getup that she wore at Super Bowl. So, they run through it a couple times, and we got to sit and watch, and it was fucking dope. I'm sitting there drinking a Diet Coke with lime and watching it and shit like that. And it was really fucking dope to see, because, like, I mean, fuck, who else can say that they got to see the Super Bowl halftime show, rehearsal and shit like that? There's not a lot. There can't be too many out there. I'm sure there's, some who can, but, like, come on, there's not a lot. And it was really cool to have that experience. So now we're sitting there watching it and everything. Time is going by. It becomes like 11 o'clock. We have school the next day. It's fucking Sunday, dude. We have school the next day. So we're just like, fuck, can we please leave? Like, we're almost like to the point of tears. Like, can we leave? So they finally get us out of there. And we get on the bus, and we get on the first bus. We get back to the second bus, and we're riding back to the school. And like most of us are like, because again, we're in high school. We're not used to being up this late. Some of us at the time, like now, I can stay up till like fucking midnight, 1 a.m. and it's no problem. But at the time, staying up till midnight for me in high school in Houston, oh my god, that was like, dude, somebody better be dead if I'm up at midnight, and shit like that. So we're on the bus, and like half of the people are trying to sleep, half of the people are like fucking sleep deprived, and the other half are just getting daffy. Well, take a fucking guess which half of that group I was in. So like me, one of the other guys from choir, I can't remember his name, but he was a cool guy, and some of the other ones were just like shouting shit to like just keep us occupied, because there's a part in the song of Rhythm Nation where like Janet apparently is like, bigamy, no, illiteracy, no, and like, so we're on the bus. So we're on the bus and we're just mocking that for some reason. We're like, illiteracy? No. Bigotry? No. And then we just start shouting words that aren't even in, like, we're shouting phrases that aren't even in the song. We're like, we're going to school tomorrow? No. We tired? No. So I don't get home that night till like fucking 12:30 at night. And my mom was like, what the hell happened? And I tell her everything that happened. She was like, oh, okay. I was like, I don't want to go to school tomorrow. She was like, you have to go to school. I was like, man, I got to be up in like 4 hours for school now. Because I have to get up, get dressed, fucking walk to, because I walked to school at the time, So like, I have to get up, walk there, and then you're telling me you want me to go through this. She was like, all right, I'll make you a deal. If you go through lunch, just call me and say you have a headache, and I'll say that you can go home. And I was like, all right, deal. I made it to like second period. I couldn't go any further. I was too fucking tired. So I called, I was like, hey, I have a headache. And they're like, okay, you can go home. So I left and shit. She was like, I got home. She was like, I told you to wait till lunch. I was like, I couldn't make it any further. So, all right. So we got the second rehearsal done. So now the day comes. We're gonna fucking go to the Super Bowl and shit. Now, they told us beforehand, they were like, listen, you will not be provided with a ticket to the game. You will not be watching the game, which, boy, were they right on that. It was like, there's an episode of The Simpsons where, like, the whole episode is them going to the Super Bowl, then them backstage at the Super Bowl. You never see any football. This is what it was like, So, so we have to meet at that same fucking field, so we get on the bus there and shit. And then the coolest thing about this was, here was the cool thing. They're like, okay, we're going to head to Reliant Stadium now. The coolest thing about this is they had like a whole bunch of police officers on motorcycles and police cars fucking escort all the school buses to the stadium. We had a fucking police escort to the stadium. Like, how fucking baller was that? It'd be one thing, again, if we were like Janet Jackson or Nelly or some shit and they needed a police escort, by all means, give them one. We were just fucking a bunch of kids in high school, and they gave us a fucking police escort to the goddamn stadium for the Super Bowl, Oh, God, that was like so cool. So we get to the stadium, and we all get off the bus. They're like, okay, now you have to run here. So we run to this point, and that was like the checkpoint to where, make sure we didn't have any weapons or, make sure we didn't bring a bomb in or anything like that. They felt my pocket, and I had like my blood sugar kit in my pocket just in case. And they're like, what's that? I was like, my blood sugar kit? And they're like, oh, okay. They patted my other pocket. Okay, you're good. And I was like, yeah, you felt stupid, didn't you? So we all run in. They're like, all right, everybody get in a line. So we get in a line. They're like, okay, we have to get to the other side of the arena. I'm like, why didn't we just park on that side? That was my first thought. So we're like all in a single file line running. So we're like jogging, running and shit like that. Then we'd stop, And at this point, I'm like, all right, I'm at the Super Bowl, man. Like, when am I ever going to fucking be at a Super Bowl again? And I haven't been at one since. So I was like, I need something from here, to let me know I was at the fucking Super Bowl, So I see like all these security guards like wearing a fucking hat. And I have like $17 in cash in my pocket, you know? So I was like, I'm going to get one of these fucking hats from them. So, like, we stop, and I look at one of the security guards, and I'm like, can I buy your hat for $15? They're like, no, sorry, I like it, and everything. I'm like, cool. All right, everybody start running. So we start running again. Running. It reminded me of a fucking World War II Nazi death march. And for those of you who don't know what the fuck that is, during World War II, they would take the Jewish people from concentration camps, and they would go on what they call the death march, or selection, you know? And they would have them just run long distances and such like that. Whoever made it to the next camp. Whoever, fell down, couldn't keep going and everything, more than likely, I think you get what happened there. This is what it felt like. Because, like, it was run, stop, So, but, like, every time we stopped, there was security guards there. I'm like, can I buy your hat for $15? And it was always the same excuse, which was like, no, I really like it, man. I'm sorry. And then the one time that we did so, I'm like, can I buy your hat for $15? And they were just like, okay. That's when we started moving again. I was like, you son of a bitch. Stopped one time and somebody wanted 50, and I was just like, can't do 50, sorry. So we basically run the entire circumference of the arena. Which, I mean, look up the size of this arena. It's pretty fucking big. Well, to be fair, at the time I was kind of in shape. I was running 215 pounds at the time, and at the time, for me, that was in shape, because believe it or not, the diabetes and shit at the time, man, I had that shit under control, man. I was able to fucking run laps in gym, man. I was able to do push-ups and clap at one time. Like, that's how fucking in shape I was. But, whatever. So, we get to the other side. They get us, like, in the, I guess, like, backstage area, and, and the game starts. Like, seriously, we're, like, asking anybody who walks by, what's the score? Because there's not a monitor, there's not a screen, there's nothing to fucking, they meant it. You're not going to see any football, So, there's also a porta potty, like, right where we're standing, So, people have been coming in and out, and some of us have been using it and such like that. I see this lady walk in, and she's holding one of those pennants, flags, and shit. And I was like, huh. So she walks into the porta potty. After a few minutes, she walks out, and her husband or significant other or whatever walked in, and I tapped her on the shoulder. I was like, excuse me, can I buy that pennant from you for $10? And she was like, I only paid $5 for it. I was like, and I'm offering you $10. And she was like, okay. Yeah, so I handed her $10 in my pocket, and I got a fucking souvenir from the Super Bowl. And I still have that pennant. I believe it's in one of my totes over here in the basement here. So here was the next baller thing. So we're waiting in backstage basically till halftime now. So halftime comes, and, like, again, I know it wasn't for us, but, like, they're all like, okay, everybody run into the field, get in your position, and also, by the way, when you see the fireworks go off, start running to the exit on your right, because that equipment is going to be coming right behind you. And we're like, okay, cool, right on. So we ran onto the field. I mean, like, 60,000 people, man. 60,000 people screaming and shit. It was... I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it now. I know they weren't, like, screaming for us, but it was still fucking cool. We got the glad hand people as we were fucking walking out and shit, which is really fucking dope and shit. So, but it was like a cool moment and shit like that. So then we all get in position and fucking, oh, my girl's at the body, look at that body. Fucking the show starts and shit like that. And, like, it's incredible. Like, I was literally probably about 7 feet away from Janet Jackson, maybe a little further. Like, it felt like I was really close. So then, Justin and, there was Nelly and PD, all those guys, the show goes off. Now, also in my drama class, there was this guy named Jose, and Jose was, like, bigger than me at the time. Jose was, like, he had to be, like, 350 pounds. He was a big fella. He was a fluffy guy, as they like to say. So he finds me like at the back of the fucking, place that we're standing. And I was like, dude, this is amazing, isn't it? And he's like, yeah. Then all of a sudden we hear Heavy Naked by the end of this song, and the fucking power goes off. And I'm like, yeah, woo, yeah. And I turn over to my fucking right to look at Jose to be like, oh, isn't this fucking great? Jose is gone. I mean, like, fucking, he's halfway to that exit they told us to run at. And I'm like, oh, fuck, that's right, the exit. So, like, phew, I take off and I start running. So I'm running towards this exit, and we get to a stop. We get to a point where we're all stopped. And, like, I'm still remembering what they said. Like, they said move, otherwise the equipment's going to run us over. So, like, I look to my right. There's, like, a taped off area. I look to my right, and I see, like, a big open fucking area. And nobody's there. So I was like, fuck it, I'm going to go under this tape, and I'm going to bolt down here and get to that exit. So I go under the tape, and I start booking ass down here. All of a sudden, this is, I mean, like, come on. This is like one of the coolest moments here. All of a sudden, the Carolina Panther cheerleaders come out, and I'm running through their not their huddle, but like they're coming back out to join the game and shit. And like I'm running through, like they're coming out and shit. I'm like, huh, I pulled a Ferris Bueller. There's a scene in Ferris Bueller at the end where he's running through the house and he's just like, oh, excuse me. Oh my God. Oh yeah. Hey, that smells great. Oh, dinner's ready. And he runs out the house. I did that. Like, I'm running, then all of a sudden the cheerleaders show up, and I was just like, oh, hey, oh my God, you look good. Hey, beat them. See you later. And I fucking booked ass. It was one of the coolest fucking moments. Oh my God, it was so good. So I get to the end, I get back under the tape, and I get to the exit. Outside, they're like, everybody just get on a bus. You're all going to the same place. You'll get on your actual bus when you get back. So, okay, cool. So I just get on the bus, and I have nobody from my school on my bus, so I didn't really talk to anybody. So I get back to the meeting place, and I'm like one of the first 4 people from my school back. So there was this guy named Jonathan and his girlfriend at the time. What was her name? I can't remember her name. But they were already on the bus, and they were sitting in the back. And there was somebody else there too. But I get on the bus, and I want to sit in the back too. So I go all the way to the back, and I sit on the opposite side of them. And I sit in the back, and I was like, man, that was something. And Jonathan all of a sudden says, did you see it? And I was like, yeah, I saw it, man. I was standing right there, man. It was freaking, I'm thinking he's referring to the show. Like the show itself. And he's like, no, did you see Janet Jackson? I was like, dude, I saw her, man. He's like, no. Did you see Janet Jackson's titty? I'm like, what? What are you talking about? He was like, Janet Jackson's tits came out. And I'm like, I beg your pardon? Like, no, I didn't see that, man. Like, I was standing back there with Jose, and fucking fireworks went off, and I saw the Carolina Panther cheerleaders. They're like, no, Will, her fucking titty came out and shit, man. It was fucking wild. I was like, no, man, I didn't see that, man. So that's how I found out about it. And if I didn't find out about it, the fucking numerous fucking news stories about it the next day would have fucking told me about it. Because, that fucking Nipplegate, as it became known as, blew up the world. I actually got interviewed. Well, I wouldn't say interviewed. Because we had a station there. It was not G105. What was it? G105 was North Carolina. Oh, what was the radio station I used to listen to there? Shit. It was like the today's hit station. Is it? No, Z105 is here. What was the fucking radio station there? Anyway, I can't remember. But they were talking about Nipplegate, and they're like, if anybody has any insight on this, please give us a call. And I was like, oh, fuck, I have some insight, and I'm a press whore, So I call them. I call the radio station, and I was just like, I was in the Super Bowl halftime show. And they're just like, oh, okay, hold on. So they put me on hold, and then they put me through on the air. And they're just like, okay, so what's your take on this? I was like, I think it was planned. And they're like, why is that? And I told them, well, because everybody else wore their costume or whatever, or outfit, whatever. Janet didn't wear hers for dress rehearsal. And they're like, well, how do you know that? How do you know? And I was like, I was there. I was at rehearsal, And they're like, oh, so you were one of the extras. I was like, yeah. And they're like, and you saw rehearsal? I was like, yeah. And, so like I got to be on the radio for it. Although, I'll bleat that could have went to anybody who would have called. So I really wouldn't say that was special. You know. Also, I like to say I was mentioned in Us Weekly because in Us Weekly they talked about Nipplegate, and it was just like I'm like, hey, I was mentioned in Us Weekly. They're like, what? Really? Where at? I was like, it says at Reliance Stadium with 60,000 fans. I was one of those people. I was one of those 60,000 people. They're like, that doesn't count. You know. So, but yeah, it was an experience that like, oh god, it was so good. I mean, like minus a little hiccup at the beginning where like I could have fucking walked away and just ruined it. Totally fucking worth it. Cause like, I mean, to this day, I'm still a Janet Jackson fan to this day now. Cause like I always heard Janet Jackson before, um, before the Super Bowl. But like once I saw her like live and in person, I became like such a super fan. Like the All For You album, Demita Joe, 20YO, went out and got those albums and such like that. Not to mention, I listened to Velvet Rope before, the Super Bowl and such like that. But yeah, it was an experience. And like legally, we had to sign contracts to do that. Like basically saying like, hey, we're going to do this, and then like legally, I can say that I've worked with Janet Jackson, with Jessica Simpson, with P Diddy, with Nelly. I can legally say that because we had to sign contracts for that and such like that. I mean, like, yeah, I didn't physically work with them. Like, hey, Mr. Diddy, what would you like to do on stage? We didn't do that. But like contractually, I can say that like, hey, I worked with them. You know, again, not something a lot of people can probably say, and it be true. You know, um, but yeah, I still look back fondly at that. There's not a lot of stuff in Houston I look back at fondly, but this was definitely one of them. So so that right there is a story that you definitely didn't ask for. You know. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this week's episode of Stories No One Asked For. I had a different story in mind this week, but I figured why not go with this one? So hopefully you guys enjoyed this and you guys are really digging this podcast. And as long as you dig them, I'll keep telling them such like that. So until next week, guys, I'm the ArtistVersion1, and remember, be breezy.